The New York Knickerbockers back home Friday against the Bucks.
Yep.
Let's take a look back, though. 4-game road trip. Last week on the Juice Bar, I said they'd go 3-1.
You did.
Started off 2-0, lost 2 in a row. Rockets game a deserved L. Knicks let one get away against the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
On a late collapse. I'll call it a collapse. They had that game sewed up, should have won it, and down the stretch, folded up a bit, and Atlanta was able to get the W. Talk to me about the games that were, the road trip, and how you felt about how they played in those 4-game stretch.
I guess positive side, obviously, first 2 wins. You got to love that this is just a true team effort with the starting 5. You got all 5 starters plus Deuce in double figures. You force a season-high 22 turnovers at the time for the Pistons, so you love to see the defensive effort. And then you go trends-wise back and forth with Miami. We and them had won at the crib 8 straight. We ended that. So going down to Miami, as you know, being, I don't know if you're a Miami guy per se, but you have some fun. It's not an easy place to go. Shout out our guy Henson.
Go hang out
and play focused basketball. And they went down there stylistically against a team that does a lot well like we do, and we took it to them. Obviously, on the defensive side, coming off the L's, it's a frustrated
I told you about Miami, though.
Yeah. Now, particularly off of the Hawks L, the closing of games, obviously, is going to be apparent. But I guess going off our guy Wally on the post game, this is a team that hasn't played together in clutch basketball moments. So being up 5 late, 2 minutes of play, who does it go to? How does the offense facilitate that kind of thing? Will get hashed out with reps. I liked what I saw. 4-game road trip, week-ish, is a lot to ask out the gate first 3 weeks of the NBA season, but I like what I saw on the positive side of the wins.
They just need time. I think coming in, the perception was, everybody went to Villanova, so they'll automatically play really well together. Then some of the Villanova guys get broken up, right? Then Cat is put into the equation. It's flat out just going to need some time. Yeah. There has been possessions and flashes of exactly what we want to see. Like, this is the new look Knicks when they get rolling. These are the type of possessions and stretches they can have. And then on the flip side, coming down the stretch, there's stretches where it's like they haven't played together. They need to get it figured out. One thing that jumps out, Monaco.
Yeah.
They're 20th in three-point attempts, number 1 in shooting percentage, 43%.
Just going to say. I love to see that. In a league where you have to compete at the 3-point level if you want to compete with the cream of the crop.
I was going to say the opposite.
You don't like?
Of course I love to see them being first in 3-point percentage.
Yeah.
But let's get some more up. If you're knocking them down at that clip, and we have shooters all over the floor, the big appealing thing about the Knicks coming in after it was finalized that Cat was going to be that 5th piece was they all can shoot.
Sure.
If necessary, they'd be able to knock down a jump shot, whether that be Bridges in the corner, will that be OG in the corner, whether that be Josh Hart getting streaky and hot like he did in the playoffs versus Philly, Brunson getting more spacing off a pick and roll with Cat. They would be able to shoot from every position. They got to get the volume up, though. If you can shoot it, clearly they can at 43%, number 1 in the NBA. Get more up. So I'm excited to see, or anxious to see how they.
Well, do you think? I guess from a Tibbs-led team, do you think that maybe is an onus to be selective when you shoot from 3-point land because you don't want to be too much maybe Boston Celtics live and die with the 3. You still want to kind of get back to last year's identity where you did impose your will a little in the paint.
They don't have that roster, though. The roster is now more of an offensive.
We still got the Bulldog at the 1.
Yeah, at the 1, but you said impose our will in the paint. In
yeah,
the New York Knicks, they don't have. Look, I think a big thing Knicks fans right now, including ourselves, need to. These are 2 different teams.
They are.
So humans tend to reflect back and say, hey, we need to be doing this like the Knicks were doing last year. It's a different roster. I don't think that they're built. They don't have the capacity to do some of the things that they were really good at doing last year. This roster can thrive just like that when it'll just be in a different way. The other thing on the shooting portion, so 20th in 3-point attempts, first in successful 3-point makes at 43%, number 1 in the NBA. Shot quality on the analytics is 28th. That screams we haven't played together. We're making things probably a little harder than they need to be. The key for teams, for me, when you're looking and watching across the NBA is how difficult does everything look? Right now, things look difficult for the Knicks.
In what spot, though? Not offensively. You think it's difficult offensively? I think they actually only have shown struggles down the stretch offensively. I think we might be talking about maybe the defensive side of the ball.
Isn't that when things matter? I think both.
Well, last game against the Hawks, we lost because of our defense. Up 5, 110, 105, lose by 5.
If your shot quality is ranked 28
no,
in
that's
the NBA via
that's
analytics,
not good.
That's offensive struggle. That's making things difficult. I'll give you a perfect example. I watched Nuggets Thunder last night. I did the NBA bet stream. Everything for the Thunder looks extremely easy. Here's SGA. Here's Isaiah Joe. Here's Cason Wallace for 3. Defense, they know the rotations back and forth. They slide a guy like Caruso in. For example, on the Nuggets, everything looked really difficult offensive. They ended up coming back and getting the W. But that first half, everything was so difficult. When a team doesn't have cohesion and they're not where they want to be, just, I guess, culture-wise and X's and O's-wise, things look more difficult, and that's what I'm seeing from the Knicks.
Well, to put a button on it, I've looked at themes and wins for this club thus far in the early season. Obviously, we mentioned all 5 guys in double figures, but they're winning the rebounding battle and they're winning the turnover battle. And I know that sounds, if we're talking NFL, win time of possession, win, don't turn the ball over and force turnovers and or interceptions and fumbles. But that's where I guess I get a little bit tripped up with, because our coach was the same and our point guard and our leader was the same from last year. Can we take Tibbs and Brunson's bulldog mentality and impose that and ingratiate that into a Bridges and into some of these new guys that haven't maybe had the Knicks mentality from last year's club?
I think in general, when we're talking about athletes specifically, we need to stop expecting a change later on in their career. Or, for example, like people still talking about, like, when is Giannis going to start knocking down threes? Giannis is not knocking down threes. Like, the guys' games are their game. You have to figure out, as an organization, how to make it work. And they're still early in trying to figure that out.
But Cat's top 3 in rebounds in the league right now. That's a positive. That, to me, screams he can step. 68 rebounds in a 5-game stretch before ATL, where he went, 14 last night, 15. That's impressive to me for a stretch 4. Or are you just saying no one else is rebounding? He kind of has to.
I don't think rebounding on it makes you a dog in the sense that you're talking about being a dog. I think it's...
Sure, that's one element.
Yeah, dogs usually can rebound. Josh Hart is a dog.
Yeah.
And that's part of his game, right? I think there's 2 different aspects to what you're saying. But let's move on.
Yeah, looking ahead.
And look ahead and move forward.
Yeah.
Back at MSG on Friday against the Bucks, who are reeling. They play tonight as we record this. They are 1-6.
Mm-hmm.
They're 1-6.
Yeah, they are.
Giannis still playing really good ball. Dame has shown his spurts of playing really good ball, but the rest of the roster is pretty thin. It's an old roster. Middleton's still not around. This should be a big-time W here for the New York Knicks at home, no?
Big-time W, looking ahead as well, getting the Pacers the next game. These are games against these 2 clubs. You'd like to think physicality would be, very prevalent. Again, this is a team, I think Milwaukee, we've had some trouble against them. Indiana, bully ball has worked for the Knicks, but I guess talking out, are these good spots, also with the Sixers in the hole, to kind of with 3 playoff East teams test some things with, I guess, identity-wise? Is there anything you want to see in these games, either offensively or defensively, that's just on the mesh chemistry side of things?
Yeah, just more chemistry. Just things coming a little easier. Like I mentioned, good basketball teams make things look easy. We're still, as in the Knicks, are trying to figure that portion out.
Well, we know
more continuity, just reps.
Yeah, and reps is a tough thing when you have such a solidified culture and chemistry from last year and a 50-win club from last year. You kind of, I guess, as fans, bettors, what have you, expect maybe something out the gate, but that's just not how the game of basketball is.
Knicks beat up on the Pacers. Now they have to go to the Fieldhouse in Indianapolis and play them. That should be a really interesting matchup because that's now a little rivalry for sure.
Oh,
full
yeah.
blown, no question. Coming off the playoff series last year, coming off of how they looked in the Garden, they couldn't wait to play the Pacers and beat them
Absolutely.
up. And beat them up pretty good. So we'll see how they look going to Conseco. Now,
Now Philly's going to want that rebuttal, same thing.
Yeah, but no Tyrese Maxey now.
Yep.
Paul George still trying to find his way.
Is that the Embiid? I think that's Embiid's debut against
he's slated to return on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, little three.
Now, if this was baseball and I'm coming off that Boston 04 doc, Pedro, one of his guys gets dinged, we throw the rock back, i.e. back to Mitch Rob getting his lower body completely disregarded in that playoff series. Is there any message sent to the BFG in this debut of his?
I mean, we'll see, but there's no question. I actually recently went back and watched
the series.
A lot of that series.
Riveting.
He was. It was pretty clear. It was just dirty play by Joel in a lot of
instances
in a lot of different spots. So, will there be?
I'm feeling 2-1 in these 2 road 1 home.
Piece? We'll see, but. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of up and down with the Knicks, at least for the next month or so.
I guess to put a button on it, because I am curious your thoughts. End of games, you would assume the ball's in Brunson's hand, but we've already seen Cat cook over 40, over 35, a couple of times. Is it a fluid situation the last 3 minutes of a game? Is it a good problem to have or actually a dicey problem to have where you got 2 potential closers?
No, never dicey because it's still solidified that Jalen's the number one. I think you get the ball in his hands and let him decide what's the best look and what's the best option for the team to get a W in crunch time. The key here is with the new team, there's going to be ebbs and flows. You got to try to stay in the middle and even keel. Last year, on a night-to-night, we knew exactly how the Knicks were going to respond and play against very specific teams. We don't know that about this team yet, so stay even keel.
So do you think it's actually rewiring habits from last year's team, like for Brunson in particular?
Stop with the last year's team.
No, I'm talking about...
But like that's what I'm getting at. We continue to... Do we need to rewire like last year's team? They need to figure out what makes them go with this roster and this team.
I'm just going off last night's postgame where you're up 5 with 2 minutes, and if that's Brunson's ball with 2 minutes left, it's easy what should have unfolded. And they drop a game where the Hawks are plus 800 with 90 seconds left. So these are things to talk out, but I think healthy discussion, all things Knicks.